Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to the John Malone Show and another edition of Dirty Laundry with John Malone and Mike Borgia. Good morning, Mr. Mike. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, John. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, my friend. Hey,
Good.
so a lot's been going on this week. A lot's been going on this year already. We're almost halfway through 2022. Today is January the 14th, and you and I have been talking about a lot. This is a kind of a special year, 2022. 2 years ago, everybody couldn't wait till 2020 was over, and then going into 2021, there was a lot of memes talking about how 2021 was the year that Mad Max took place. You know, all those post-apocalyptic movies were supposedly the genre was supposed to be, or the timeline was supposed to be 2021, right? So, well, we kind of lived through that. Nothing catastrophic happened. We didn't nuke ourselves, which is the whole kind of plot of all the Mad Max, films. And but so we got a lot of stuff going on that kind of correlates with another older movie, and Soylent Green, my friend.
Mhm.
Soylent Green is a 1973 film that starred Charlton Heston, and it was a one of these dystopian, post-apocalyptic. There's no more food on the planet. There's no more animals. Everything's we've destroyed the planet. So they didn't really talk so much about climate change or anything like that. You're just kind of led to believe that something happened. They don't say if it was a war or anything like that. But this is it's New York City is when it takes place, and it takes place in 2022. How eerie is that? Is this what do they say? Is this art imitating life or life imitating art? So it's because one of the big things that's happened over the last week and a half is one of these big fast food companies has come out with a new product. Kentucky Fried Chicken has got their Beyond Chicken. It's not, it's a plant-based chicken. Thing I thought was so weird about this is that man, their advertising and marketing just absolutely kills me. So for people who don't know, I'm going to show you a few things here and what led to this discussion. And you and I, Mike, were talking about Joe Rogan. We saw one of his episodes last week with Adam Curry, and they were talking about food intelligence. So maybe we should start there and kind of go on to where we're going from this. Let's show you a clip. This is Joe Rogan and Adam Curry talking about food intelligence.
Food intelligence. China right now is hoarding grain. They supply 60% of the world's grain. They've been hoarding it for a while, actually, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. So we're going to have a shortage, a global shortage. The meat processors, they're not interested in really using livestock anymore. It's just a lot more profitable. And we're training people, now it's an amazing thing. And, is it Burger King or someone just came out with, new soy nuggets. We're being kind of pushed into this, and all we know is we put it in our face. It has the same texture. It tastes the right way, and the profits are much better. So that's where people are starting to reach out and say, well, why don't I go meet a rancher one day and and a local processor. It's not USDA; they can't get that. But in Texas, you're allowed to sell your meat directly without USDA stamp. One of the few states. Vegetables, all this stuff. We're going to have to figure it out because we're going to have shortages. I think we're going to have some serious food shortages. It'll be weird, like bread might not show up or something else will happen, but we're going to have shortages.
Well, we have a bunch of problems, right? One of the big ones is large population centers aren't self-sustainable.
Entirely not, no.
Yeah, they need food shipped into them.
They need...
So... we're getting food shipped in from where? It's we're not getting our shrimp anymore from the Gulf. It's coming from Vietnam, and we're getting a lot of our fruits and vegetables, from other countries instead of having it grown here. And so, like, how close are we to where it is like Soylent Green, where it is this dystopia, where we've run out of food, we're having to engineer food. And we've already been doing that since World War II. a lot of these companies like Dow and Monsanto and Cargill and ConAgra and a lot of these companies, they don't have farmers working there. They have scientists working there.
Yeah.
They don't have nutritionists. They have engineers and scientists working there. So, with the food shortage, how close are we? And Mike, we talk about health and nutrition and what we put in our body and all the the chemicals and preservatives. And there was a comedian that I loved when I was a kid. He said, I have so many, what did he say? I have so many preservatives in my body. I'm going to look better dead than alive. And he said, y'all can just bury me in Tupperware. You can just bury me in Tupperware.
I've heard that quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, Adam's right. In terms of food intelligence, this should have been talked about a long time ago. Unfortunately, it's taking something like the event of 2020 for people to be shaken enough to, have a light bulb over their head. Industrialization, mass production, it's never good. You have to go with your local farmers. Like we said in the last segment, or the Organic Farmers Association is growing exponentially. So I don't agree that what Adam was saying about, yes, we're going to have food shortages on the industrial market of food. You won't see packaged bread and certain things in the store, but that doesn't affect me because I don't shop in regular grocery stores. I buy from my local farmers and I make it here myself. So he's right in saying that people are going to have to go directly to local farmers again and get back to the roots of how we're supposed to be eating in the first place. So there's a lot of good that comes from this, but with that comes a lot of damage, right? A lot of people will starve. A lot of people will get sick like they're doing now, and a lot of people will die. It depends on how much you value your life and what you want to see with your time on earth, at which you guide the rest of your path. So the Soylent Green thing is weird though, the 2022.
Well, and so part of that for folks, if you've never seen this movie, I'm gonna show you a small clip from the trailer. This is from 1973.
What is the secret of Soylent Green? New York City in the year 2022. Nothing runs anymore. Nothing works. But the people are the same. And the people will do anything to get what they need.
This is the police.
What they need most is Soylent Green.
The supply of Soylent Green has been exhausted. Return to your home.
What is the secret of Soylent Green?
And so, they're out of food, and every Tuesday in New York is Soylent Green Day. And so the police drive around in these big delivery vans, and then they have these big dump trucks with big scoops on the front for unruly people. They just scoop people up, and but they deliver, these wafers. And so like this is what Soylent Green looks like. So there's supposed to be these protein bars that have like all the nutrients, all the minerals, everything that you need, right, to sustain yourself. And just like look at those color of these wafers and just keep that in your memory. Look at that light pale green color of these wafers. But so here you can see the people waiting, getting in line for food, and it says Soylent Green. Tuesday is Soylent Green Day, and then for whenever you have any left over, you can try to resell it on the market and see, here's a family trying to make money, and they're selling crumbs, that are left over for like 20 cents, for crumbs. So, you're literally just getting to the point where we have nothing else. This is supposed to be like a plankton based, nutrition, that they got from the ocean. That was the only thing that's left on the planet is the plankton, and the kelp, right? So, but this is going to nourish us. It will take care of us. And of course, in this dystopia and in this movie, the wealthy, do have meat. They have vegetables, they have fruit, and a lot of things like this. They have people that live in penthouse high rises. But there's a very, very small percent, of the population that's left over in this world. And people are killing each other. They're killing the rich. It's all like a metaphor, right? So, but in 2022, how close are we? And what Adam and Joe were talking about is this right here. So this just came out like in the last week and a half. Yummy.
Horrifying.
Beyond fried chicken only at KFC. Well, thank God, only at KFC. That's just, what used to be Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now you're like, look, it's not chicken. It's not from Kentucky. They still kept the F for fried, but oh my God, what a disaster. And when you look at that, the open nugget right there, you can see the fibers, that look like meat, that look like, tissue from an animal, so they've engineered this stuff all the way down to the point to where it looks like chicken, it smells like chicken, it tastes like chicken. What the hell?
We're not supposed to be messing with our food this way. Remember before how I said the whole is more valuable than the sum of its parts?
Right.
Well, that's what modern medicine does. That's what corporate food does. They take a piece of something that is nutritious, they pull it away from its source. And without that source, it doesn't have the benefit for human consumption anymore. But theoretically, in marketing, they give you the impression it does. So they break it down, they give it that color and that feel, and they put it in this little tiny piece of food that you can just pop in your mouth and go on about your day, or put it in this tiny pill and pop it in your mouth and go upon your day. So when you engineer food and you mass produce food, it should be obvious that you're not getting the nutritional benefit, which is why we have, psychological issues, or emotional issues, physical and internal issues, and so much disease, especially in this country. But it's spreading to other countries, not nearly as vastly. But I mean, I would say, based on where I've been in the world, America even still has the greater food problems.
Right,
Yeah.
because a lot of countries ban a lot of these things. They ban these pesticides. They ban, these genetically modified, plants or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it's why you see that as a country compared to the rest of the world, we are the most unhealthy. We have the largest amount of people that have diabetes. I mean, growing up, I'm 49 years old. And growing up, I didn't have a single friend that had a peanut allergy. When I was a child, I didn't have a single friend that was lactose intolerant. I didn't have a single friend that had all these things that the younger generation seem to have a plethora of now. People my grandfather's age and my dad's age, going back to a certain point, and my great grandfather, they didn't have colon cancer to the rates that we're having it now. So what is it? Is it our environment? Is it what we're putting in our body? It's a combination of all these things, right? But mostly it's what we're putting into our body.
Yeah, and on our body. People don't understand that the largest organ is your skin. And everything that we put on, when the clothes that we wear, the detergent that you use, my God, if that's a toxic, like store-bought detergent, that's going onto your skin, into your cells, and through the epithelial tissue and into your lymph nodes. Okay, so that alone, and the bath products, the shampoos, the dyes, the shower curtain that people use. I have a glass one, but a lot of people still have a regular shower curtain. That's plastic. Most
Yeah,
of
the
that's
vinyl.
plastic. Vinyl, yeah. So, well, no, I guess we won't talk about that.
To deodorant, to toothpaste, to everything.
Yeah.
Now you're starting to see a lot of companies that have aluminum free, deodorant. I just saw a Dove commercial the other day where their deodorant, they have a new deodorant that does not have aluminum. So, but what else are they putting in there? What other chemical, right? So we're taking this out because there's an uproar of this, but we're going to put something else in that's similar to it. That still is probably going to cause some kind of problem. So again, it's right. We're not trying to get into like who's evil and who's not, but just that's your responsibility, as the viewer to to look into this for yourself. Do some research. Look at the ingredients. Look at what you're buying. What is the name brand? Who's the company that manufactured this product? Where'd you get your food from? You know, these things are all very important if you care about your health. If you don't, that's, you know, hey, that's
Sure.
your choice. So enjoy, you know. But for people who want, you know, knowledge and who want information, there's plenty of places out there that can tell you, you know, and we put a few links last week. Mike and I are working on a cookbook, you know, that we're going to share, you know, some of our recipes of things that we like that are healthy and that are nutrition, that, you know, aren't full of, you know, dead calories. You know, a lot of these things are just empty calories that we put on our bodies every day. We emotionally eat, you know, we're, you know, so anyway, just, it's funny to me because, so getting back to Soylent Green, the secret to Soylent Green, I mean, this movie came out in 1973. So if you don't know by now, here's the ingredients of Soylent Green. So it is made of people. That is the main ingredient, is humans, and water and lentils and sodium nitrate, modified potato starch, riboflavin, taurine, and what is that? Verdant hue for color, which is that green. It's a very specific pale colored green, is the main ingredients, you know, is people. And so that's the thing about this movie, that you know, at the very end, is Charlton Heston is screaming out, you know, as he's being mobbed by a bunch of people, saying, let them know it's made of people.
Yeah.
So they just take the dead in this manufacturing plant that they scoop up with these big, you know, forklifts and stuff, and they throw them into this machine and extrudes out these green wafers again. So let's go back to this real quick. So here's Charlton Heston, you know, in the plant where he's exposing the big lie of that it's made of people. But look at that color green, Mike. Does that remind you of anything?
Sure does.
Well, let me show folks. Look
It's the
at
same
that color of green.
Yeah.
Really? Kentucky Fried Chicken, really? KFC, Yum Brands? You couldn't have used a different hue for your plant-based, you know, stuff. You literally used almost the exact same Pantone color as Soylent Green, you know. So
I'm sure they didn't look into it. I'm sure that because the older the movie is, you know, the newer the generation might be marketing that product, not even thinking
come
about
on, somebody in the boardroom, somebody in one of these meetings, somebody in a
Somebody
focus group
probably.
surely said, do you
Yeah.
guys not realize what color that is?
Yeah.
You know, come on, they know. And that's the wonder, right? Because Adam said we're training people. This
Yeah.
is that part where, you know, is this that, you know, where they're just getting it into your head slowly, a little bit at a time. This is that predictive programming.
Well, look, the 70s, I don't remember much. I was born in the 70s, but in the later half. So, but I do remember my grandmother pointing out these things that would come up in the food market. And she would look at this and go, now she grew up during the Great Depression. They started hoarding a lot of canned food and things like that. And she told me about that then. And she said, she used to tell me, she would take things like, just for example, an apple that was grown in the backyard, versus one that was taken from a conventional grocery store. You couldn't smell it. You cut it open, it didn't brown. She was telling me this, showing me this a long time ago. So food intelligence, I was lucky enough to have in my family for a long time. But the 70s, that, from what I remember, was a time for the biggest marketing push to get people into the convenience, those TV dinners and all those packaged products to pop in a microwave and feed your families. And you could get back to watching television that would promote other markets and other food brands and other ideologies to keep you hooked. You know, it was like it was such a hypnotic thing when TV became really popular, went into color, forget it. It's like nobody left their couch, you know? So the 70s were a very damaging but revealing time. And that's why that movie is ahead of its time in a way, because it was trying to get ahead of something before it got out of control.
Well, you know, and that's the thing with a lot of these authors, you know, whether it's Philip K. Dick, and, you know, if you ever read any of his novels or watch any of the movies that were adaptations of that, like Blade Runner and things like that, where, you know, it's a dystopian world and government control and, A lot of mandated, things are going on in the world. So, what did people know back then, or did they see that this is coming with growth, with technology? We're slaves to our phones, our laptops, our TVs, entertainment, technology, so where are we going? But, just the simple part of this where, when I look at this line around the building in that photo, the KFC, for people just literally almost dying to try this chicken. And that's where the thing that makes me laugh so much more about where it's so much like Soylent Green, when you compare, so the nutritional value of these items. So this is Kentucky Fried Chicken made nuggets, right? Made out of chicken, versus, and this is a 6-piece, nutritional information of Wendy's, 6-piece chicken nuggets versus KFC's 6-piece, beyond fried chicken nuggets, right? So look at the calorie difference, in real chicken versus plant-based, almost double, the calories almost double, the calories from fat almost double. The fat content is almost double, 16 grams to 27 grams. The sodium is, you go from 510 milligrams to 1,440 milligrams. My friend, that 1,440 milligrams of sodium is like 60% of your recommended daily allowance. So if you get that, chicken, and you get an order of fries, you're done. And then soft drinks have, some sodium in them. So, and then look at the protein, 13 grams in the Wendy's versus 36 grams in the KFC chicken nuggets. And then it
And
doesn't
if you
even
notice,
show you.
there are no vitamins and minerals in this food or this
Right.
food-like
Yeah,
substance.
exactly.
And look at
So
the
you look at
dietary fiber. So,
right.
so when everyone's promoting protein, right? Which is in every food that you eat, every real living food that you eat. So there's not even any sugar in that. So they synthesized it in such a way that usually when you see natural flavors, right, they can't even identify what it is. So they just say natural flavors. Well, when you burn wood, it turns to carbon, right? That's a natural occurrence. So they use that in marketing to give you the impression that natural means healthy, that natural
Right.
flavors means, no, it's part of the food.
Yeah,
Um,
you're thinking that it's salt, it's turmeric, it's
yeah,
pepper, it's, cayenne, it's something natural, and it's not. And even when they do that, they only have to put one natural thing in there. So if they
that's it.
put in, like pepper, like just black ground pepper, then they've met the criteria of saying that, well, then all the rest of this is also natural. So it's a lot of slick marketing, a lot of, fuckery going on with our food. And we wonder why we have all these conditions, and so many people have eczema now, so many people have migraines, it's just, the list goes on and on and on. But my
Yeah.
point is that if you're going to, at least, if you just can't live without it, just look at the two. So you've got the real chicken nugget versus the fake one, and the fake one is, 3 times worse for you. So why would you even choose? If they're similar in price. I think like a 6-piece order of nuggets from KFC is like 99 cents or something like that. Or is that a 4-piece? Either way, it's got to be less than $2. And I don't know what the price of the KFC one is, but still, like, so if you're just one of these families that's what you do, that's, you like, going out to dinner, or getting fast food, if you were given the choice, why would you ever pick the one that is 3 times more unhealthy for you? Because when you look at that amount of protein, brother, 36 grams of protein, the average sedentary male, should only be taking in a maximum of 58, grams of protein a day. Because
Yeah.
otherwise your body just says, hey, we're going to turn the rest of this into love handles.
Or it'll just push it out of the body,
Right.
That's the idea. So the less nutrients we have in the food that we're eating, the more we eat, because everybody's obviously hungry. We discussed this before. It's not because oh, you haven't eaten enough. It's because your body's like, wait, where's the nutrients, man? you know, these things scare me because I have ignored fast food since I was 11 years old. Like, it's out of my mind. I don't see it on the streets. I don't see it when I'm driving or flying. I completely ignore anything that has to do with mass market and those conventional means of eating. And when I see this, to me, this looks brand new. Like I haven't seen KFC in so long, I couldn't even tell you. I know how they market it, how they changed the marketing. That obviously they just call it KFC now. They just call Dunkin' Donuts, DD.
Right.
They're just taking away certain words to get it more, to grab more appeal. But here's the funny thing: why is it even allowed? It should not be allowed. And I think that's what Soylent Green, the movie, from what I remember seeing it, I've seen it several times over my lifetime, but a lot of that was like, hey, look, guys, this is where this is going. You have to at least know about it. And hopefully enough people would see that. I think writers and directors of TV and film are really brilliant. Like they pay attention to what's going on in the world. And there's a reason why these movies exist. It's not all smoke and mirrors. There's so much truth to it. Same with comedy. There's so much
Well,
truth to it.
that's why I say this is what they call predictive programming. So
Yeah.
if they get this into your head slowly and methodically, time and time, it's you become like Pavlov's mice, right? So you're
Mhm.
trained, and this just you start to become used to this, and it's even as a kid when used to be that going to like McDonald's or something like that was a rare occasional treat. It was a treat. It was not a everyday source of food. We ate at home. My mom cooked, my grandmother cooked, my aunts cooked, my uncles, so we all ate at home. Going out, was a rare occasion. And then it's throughout the 70s and the 80s and 90s, where today it's completely flipped. I mean, it's literally 180 degrees, where we almost never eat at home. We're not cooking our own meals, whether it's going to a sit down restaurant or fast food, or, you and I were talking about a comedian talking about, saying Starbucks doesn't sell coffee, they sell milkshakes, and most people throughout the day say they had a power bar, and it's like, no, you had a candy bar, right? So this is just what we're doing to ourselves, and we're the most unhealthy. People have brain fog, they can't make it throughout the day, they're exhausted. And that's what's also happening to animal food, where they've literally cooked all the nutrition out, so when you're pouring out a bowl of crunchy, animal food, it's just, dry powdered dust. It might as well just be sawdust.
Yeah. You made it sound like you poured out the food and ate it.
No, but I mean,
I know.
I've had pets when I was a kid, and you pour out that big bowl, or that big bag
I
of
know.
kibble and pour it
Yeah.
into their bowl, it's like, good
There's
Lord,
dust.
who would ever eat this? But what's funny in the movie Mad Max, the very the second one, not the the second Mad Max movie, there's a
Beyond
scene where
Thunderdome, is
he
that what? Yeah.
no, that was the third one. So it was actually just called the Road Warrior. I'm sorry.
Oh,
So
Road
Mad Max,
Warriors, yeah.
yeah,
Mad
Mad
Max Road
Max was the
Warriors.
first one. Then the second was the Road Warrior, but
Road
it was just
Warrior, yeah.
called Mad Max. And so in that movie, there's a scene where his car is full of cans of dog food because he's got a dog, like one of these Australian shepherds, and like he's constantly arguing with his dog over who's going to get how much of what's in the can. And it's and you see that is this where we're heading? Yes, it's all canned, it's packaged, it's bubble wrapped, it's ugh.
Yeah, I mean, we're already there. We've been there a long time, and it's. I had mentioned to you before with several people that I treat that they just come out of the box having these realizations and almost don't know how to handle their emotion with it, because it's a feeling of being duped for so long, being pushed into convenience for so long, and they may have good careers, and they do, and they're working hard at them, and they're enjoying the journey, and then they're going, man, Mike, what happened? How did I get there? And I just want to get out. And it's a wonderful feeling to see them in such disarray, because I know that it's their time, right? And many of them are young enough to make those changes, but when it comes to our children, I think once you put a developing child's mind all these chemicals, and you have young kids smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol. I mean, that is a that's a recipe for disaster. And I think it's why children have certain neurological dysfunctions as they grow up, and have trouble in school, aside from the school systems. But
But then a
it's
lot of
a
that
big,
is, but it's what they've consumed. It's what their parents
right.
have consumed. It's what their mother consumed. So like I said, when you're seeing all these diseases that are coming about that we never had as a civilization, that we never had, and when you look at them compared to other, European countries where there are very small incidences of these things, where just the learning disabilities that are becoming so prevalent today in the United States versus other European countries where they do have it, but it's so minuscule compared to us. And even here in America, you can look up on some of these maps, or you can like Google, like where are these specific, disorders, and they will show you the regions of the country, and it's exactly where you would think that they would be, which is so unfortunate. So it's these people that, it's just constantly eating garbage, drinking garbage. The amount of people that I know that drink soda, so any kind of pop beverage, right, carbonated soda. And then there are the ones that are like, yeah, but I'm drinking the diet, and it's like, okay, so they've taken out sugar out of the sodas, put in high fructose corn syrup, and now they've even taken that out and replaced that with aspartame. So again, another engineered chemical. I'd had one of the best burger alternatives that I've ever had in my life was a few years ago, and it was a vegan style restaurant, and it was a plant-based burger that they made in-house, and it was beets and beans and like potato shavings to kind of bind it all together. But my God, dude, like it didn't taste like a hamburger, it didn't taste like meat, but because the beets that were in there, it kind of gave it that color and gave it a little bit of that meaty flavor, that earthy flavor.
Mhm.
And was on a whole grain bun with lettuce and tomato and onion, and didn't add ketchup or anything. But he had it was like some kind of aioli sauce or something like that was on there. So it was almost like not mayonnaise, but you know what I mean. It was like a garlic. It was a pesto aioli. And to me, I was
Oh,
like,
pesto.
so yeah, so like it was like if you want to have that burger kind of feel in your mouth and that taste and that brain joy, it was like that was to me, and it was even better than a burger. So like that's what I love now. I crave that kind of stuff, and it was all natural, right? None of this was GMO. He makes sure he didn't, where he sources his vegetables and his fruits and things. So, but it was like, like I said, it was like lentils, black beans, and you can look up online, folks. There's all kinds of recipes, for healthy eating, how to make your own kind of homemade plant burger, so there are alternatives. And so where it's like I said, where it's Sunday, it's football day or whatever, and you want to kind of have that, you can do that, right? But otherwise, if all these things that are made out of these other things, why aren't we just eating those original things? Why aren't we just having like, beets and leeks and, and those things individually?
Yeah, you have to just eat real food. And I partner with this company called Farm to People, and they basically gather all the produce and organic food from all the local and regional farmers around the metro of New York City, and they make sure it gets delivered to the public, right? But they vet the food and the food quality and where it comes from. You know exactly where it comes from, which farms they come from. There's a QR code to scan to know where all your food was located and how far it had to travel, and that's transparency you need. And like I said, most local farmers are willing to do that. But um, so aside from obviously pushing the idea of just eating real food, there was I wanted to bring this up because I'm on my website. I made on my wellness website. I cover certain aspects and certain subjects, and one was a fake food alert. I said it's basically called Flora Plant or Plant Flora, and it's a butter. It's an alternative butter that this well-known or well qualified chef did a very expansive and high quality video of her chef experience and presenting something to the public that she promoted as healthy. And it made my stomach turn, but it wasn't obviously hateful coverage. It was just drawing attention to people to say, hey, look, this is what marketing's doing. This is what's in the product. You make the decision yourself, but there's an extensive element here that is important to recognize, because if a famous or a well-qualified chef tells you that this alternative is her responsibility to giving back to people who want to be non-meat eaters and get healthy, it's the complete opposite of that. But when you watch this video, you'll go, wow, that seems legitimate. I believe her. She's making it very, very believable. To the average person, you would go, I'm going to go buy that plant butter. Wow, I found an alternative to butter. Now I can protect my heart. And unfortunately, that's not the case, Uh,
So it's misinformation, and that's the thing, where it's
terrible.
everything's
Yeah.
everything is a grift anymore. It's like, so this is a celebrity chef you're saying, or you said well qualified, well known, whatever you want to call it, but this is somebody
Well,
who's just trying to make a buck, right? And that's the sad thing. It's under the guise of health and nutrition and alternatives, and it's like, no, just put my name on something so I can make a crap ton of money in a short amount of time. I really don't care about what the repercussions are for your health.
I think it's, everyone's looking for an idea here to promote what they do. And I think what's dangerous is, and I'm sending you the link to that article, what's dangerous here is the intent, right? And I wish I had an answer. I can't go to this person and shake them and tell them to stop doing what they're doing.
And they wouldn't even if you could, Mike. That's the sad thing about it. A lot of this is
Yeah,
just, it's just to make money. It's,
right.
this is the evil form, part of capitalism, where it's like, hey, I've got a name, I've got, and somebody might have pushed her towards this, or, came to her with this idea, or who knows? We don't know, but that's the whole thing. You see all this stuff, and where like these new nuggets are, sometimes when you look it up in some places, you can find where it's marketed it as vegan or vegetarian, and it's not, because it's fried. So once you fry this food, it automatically becomes not vegan and vegetarian. So how are you promoting it that way? You just have to be so careful, because that's where people are getting duped, and I've read a lot of these reviews that you can look up online from these new KFC Beyond Nuggets, and people are like, oh, it's delicious. If I'd not known what it was, I would have thought it was real chicken, and I'm going to make sure I buy these again. And same thing with the Impossible Burger at Burger King. It's like when you look at the nutritional information of these things, and they have 3 times the sodium and 3 times the calories and this, that, and the other. Why would you, if it's the same price, like, would you buy a Ferrari or a Pontiac Fiero? If they were the same price, like, you're going to buy the Ferrari. It's the better made car.
Well, that's the thing. Those are two different things that you can visually distinguish the difference. Whereas food, everything is the way the market of food is everything is replicated. This is why you have food brands. I said to my wife the other day, she says, "What are you going to call, because I make organic butters, salves for pain relief. I make tinctures for sleep and cellular repair, things like that. These all come from nature, which I borrow, and I do the work of putting these herbs, these medicines together. And people every week, every month ask me, you should mass produce this, you should create a brand. I'm like, no, because what comes from nature is not a brand. It's just nature. I don't own it. That's it.
And you'd have to mass produce it.
The only way to have ownership of quote unquote food is to replicate it, synthesize it, and mass produce it. Otherwise, you don't really have a right. There's no law that says I can grow my apples, right? And I love apples. That's why I keep mentioning it. I could grow my apples and I could call it Borgia's Apple Orchard, but I can't call it Borgia's Apples, because it's just the orchard which I grow, I can name. But nature is nature. Now,
Right,
if I
and that's
wanted
a
to
little,
own
and that's a little bit of semantics, so, but more importantly, it's just that, anytime you do anything in abundance, anytime, so like your tinctures that you make in small quantities. That way you can control the quality of what you
yeah,
do. You and
exactly.
Suzanne, your wife, also make olive oil, right? And you could go out there, you could, build a factory or buy a factory and mass produce it. But what's going to happen? You're going to have to buy in bulk, which means you're not going to get good quality. You're not going to have control, and then you'll be just like everybody else. That's why that's why things in small quantity are healthier, right? When they're grown in small areas. But when you have these big feed lots, when you have these big, fields of corn, that are all genetically modified for volume, not quality.
But I need to bring this up because I don't want to sound I don't want this to sound political, because it's not at all. I always see the benefits in it. However, we have a government that wants to be able to use capitalism in the free market to benefit those who work hard and push forward. They can make as much money as they want and not have any of those regulations on that. So what I'm quite certain has a really major cause and effect on all this is the fact that we have this type of system, this free market system, without proper regulation. And other countries mass produce imported markets of food from Italy and France and all that, because they know Americans will buy the lowest quality. China does it like crazy. We're in bed with China. We all know this. They produce 60, 70% of the consumer products that we have here in America.
And of the grain and everything else.
Yes. Yeah. And so when you think about that, because they know that we are a capitalistic free market society, they're like, oh, this is a win for me. If I let all my Italian friends, all my French friends say the same thing, and that could be another episode. But so what I'm trying to get to here is, so you want the governmental system to work the way it is, right? For decades, it has only worked if you were in that corporate element of food and promoting these mass produced products. So anytime you corporatize something and you replicate it to patent and call it your own, that capitalism works for that. The free market system works really great for that. But it doesn't work when you want to keep a society healthy and sustainable. So it's proven time and time and again that capitalism and the free market system is not working, which is why politicians like Bernie Sanders are talking about ways to take certain social programs that we have and expand on them, right? Protect our agriculture, protect, our ability to have health insurance in various facets, not just a medical doctor, but holistic practitioners as well. So we have to look in how we can balance that scale with the type of governmental system we have. And it's really a huge direct result of why we're dealing with these food insecurities, and this food intelligence doesn't exist, partly for that reason. Because if John says to me, okay, hey man, I got these new glasses today. Ooh, what? Yeah, I was an engineer. I used to make all that stuff. Really? Wow, we could capitalize on that. Well, geez, I got this company that can mass produce and make them look just like that for a fraction of the price. You in? Oh yeah, man, we can make our projected income in the first year $6 million. Let's do it. In the back of their mind, they're not thinking, how is this going to affect the environment using all that plastic? How's it going to protect the people in some way? It's cause and effect. And that's why the free market system and capitalism as it stands now is not the symptom of the disease. It's a root cause. It's one of the root causes right now. And I had to bring that up at some point, because
that's exactly what Adam Curry was covering, though, because that's where Adam was saying that,
right.
when you're having to mass produce things, and you have the government involved, and you have all these corporations where it's like, what does it cost us to raise beef or chicken? And it's so much easier for us to engineer these things. And so it's just more of a cost benefit for them. They don't care. Think of like when, what is it? Steve Jobs, didn't he famously say like his kids do not use, he didn't let them use, iPads or any of his devices or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So the guy who's creating this stuff isn't letting his kids use it. And then you wonder, like, are these major corporations who are making this food probably not even eating their garbage? So
No.
it's just
they're
sad.
not eating this.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's so that's the whole thing, folks. Is just, again, you kind of know all this already, right? I think you do. I have faith and hope that you do know the difference, but we've lived for like the last so many years just high on the hog and having fun and saying I'm enjoying life with all this all these rich flavors and all this stuff. But like, look what it's cost you. Look what all this has done to you and your body and to your mind. And, there's so many of my friends that I see on social media that are my age, and by God, they look like they're 60. And I'm like, it's scary, man. I don't know.
Take genetics out of it, because that's only a small portion of anything. I heard someone say, I hear this a lot. Oh, there's nothing I could do. It's just genetics. I'm like, a good friend of mine just said it recently. Actually, I said, no. I said, that's just a guide that tells you if you're seeing a trend in your family, whether it's heart disease or diabetes or sleep apnea. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they did traditionally. They're all living together. They all live the lifestyle. Therefore, they all have they're the product of that disease. You have to live based on what your genetics can handle. So you look at your gene as just a tiny piece of how you present or how you approach your health and how you approach a healthy lifestyle. You and I don't have the same genetic code, so we have to approach our lifestyle differently when we consume certain things, presuming we're eating real food, right? And even so, we could be doing something completely the same, and I end up with a heart condition and you don't, right? Because
Right, and some people just have allergies. Some people just have allergies to things. When I was a kid, I was allergic to strawberries. I grew out of that. I mean, I was like very young. I think I was like 4 or 5. I had an allergy to strawberries, but like literally, I think 7, 8 years old, I grew out of that. So, and who knows why that is? It's just, again, is that product of the environment, product of the food, where it came from, where it was sourced, what was it sprayed with? Who knows?
Is this a good time to bring up? Is this a good time to bring that map that I sent you into play, or is that
no?
no?
'Cause that's a totally different conversation altogether too. So,
Yeah.
because with all of this stuff, and we talk about like these engineered foods, and one of the things before we wrap up today that I also wanted to bring in that I've heard a lot of people talk about is canola oil. And where a lot of these oils are coming from, and what it really is. And it's a really rapeseed, and that's RAPE seed oil, rapeseed oil. Well, that's kind of hard to market, rapeseed oil, right? And it's it's a European for rap, is what they over there they call it rapeseed, but here it's called rapeseed, and it's what we now know as canola oil. But the rapeseed plant is a mustard-based plant, and it's got these 4 petals that look like a cross, or kind of look like butterfly wings if you look at it. And it's a very bright yellow, and you see it grown everywhere. But there are just numerous of millions of acres of crops of this stuff being grown now to make canola oil. Right? A lot of people thought whenever canola oil came out that it was like corn-based, and it wasn't. It was expelled from the seeds from this plant. And it's such a heavily sprayed, crop, that this thing is so heavily sprayed with pesticides and things to stop weeds and stuff like that. So, but when canola oil came from, meaning the derivation of that word canola oil is the can in it is from Canada, and ola meaning oil. So this was like something that was in Canada initially, and now they're using a lot in Germany and a lot of these other places. But one of the main things that I saw that this stuff is being used is jet fuel. It's for biodiesel. To be putting gas. Yeah. And it's like, and we're putting this in our bodies because they say, well, technically it's edible.
The rapeseed actually came from Britain, I think, originally. Not the oil, of course, but
no, right.
Rapeseed,
The plant,
itself.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's being grown everywhere. I mean, you might look in your backyard if you live like in a wooded area, or some not in the city. But when you see these, it's got like long leaves. It grows to maybe about, you can see it's about 3 feet tall. It has these long, thin blades of leaves on it. But then the flower, is like 4 petals. And then in the middle is the bright colored, anyways, it's just like a yellow plant. But then after the flower goes away, then the seeds, come out, and then that's what they take. They harvest that, and expel all the oil out of that. And it's just like, how many do you need You've got to have millions of these little seeds to make that much oil, to have all these big bottles that everybody has in their kitchen cabinet of cooking oil, of canola
Yeah.
oil. And it's just God, it's garbage. It's machine oil that we're using to
Yeah, it
cook
really
with,
is.
versus butter, like our ancestors would make butter or tallow, or any of these kind of, fat animal fats to cook with, or stuff.
Full fat is more appropriate for the body. Actually, fat gives you energy. When you have
Yeah.
these synthetic fats and things that don't come from nature, that's when you run into problems. Just, so I mean, we could talk about this all day.
And that's the whole thing. But with all this, and that this is again another synthetic, created, engineered by scientists and mad, mad scientists and engineers, that this has become food magic. That none of this should be in our bodies. Our bodies aren't designed, to do anything with this food. That's why we are sick. That's why, like I said, people have more migraines. People are more depressed. People just have all these conditions and issues now that nobody had. I mean, growing up as a kid, how many people do you know that had eczema? And now it's a thing. Like
Yeah.
you can't watch TV for an hour without seeing a commercial for something. Somebody's got bulging eye, this, somebody's got this. The amount of people that have diabetes today in the United States is overwhelming. This was just a small population of people that had any kind of these illnesses or things, back in the day. But now it's just part of the norm, right? Everybody has got cancer or had cancer, or uh,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah. It's
it's
a normalized thing. And then I see people close to me, they'll post their photos up online about their special treatments that they're having. And then, maybe sometimes it's 6 months later, and I don't mean to go dark here. I'll try to keep it as light as I can. But so in many cases from 2020 to now, uh, these particular people, even though they're not here anymore, they were just casual friends, but they would post things about their illness, and then I would see what the medical system was doing to them. And then 6 months to a year later, they weren't here anymore. And I'd gone through that with a close friend of mine, but that was something that had it been caught early on, could have saved his life for many years. We saved it for 4. So at least we know that what he was doing by changing his lifestyle environment and his food and everything he drank and ate, the exercise he did, it changed his perspective. It kept him at bay, right? And then, going back to the old system of, we found more cancer cells, and now, we've got to do more treatment. And instead of them saying, well, your body produces cancer cells and your macrophages eat them, so this is normal. Anytime they found 1 or 2 or 3 cells, they would zap it, and do that chemo. And your liver can only handle so much. So I just say, just remember, anytime you put chemicals in your body, be it from the hospital or in life, you're putting a big sledgehammer to your organs and your health.
because
So
that's the thing, right? It's the repetitive cycle.
yeah,
We give you this food that makes you sick, so
yeah,
then we give you these pills to keep you just barely alive, to
yeah,
go back to buying this food that makes you sick. And it's just
yeah,
this, ah,
yeah,
yeah. Versus if you ate healthy, if you exercised a little bit. Joe Rogan is constantly going off about exercise. Well, that's not the end all be all.
no,
Just be a little bit more active in your life. Try
you know,
just a little bit more than what you're doing.
yeah, it's a nutrient, though. You should know that exercise is a nutrient. So even though
Right.
it's an activity, it's really what your body needs. It can't really live very long without it.
Well, and even
That's
going outside, right? So this is where we
Yeah,
get our main source of vitamin D, is from going outside.
yeah,
But my God, they've got you so afraid of the sun and all the solar radiation that they've got you slathering on, paint coats of SPF. And now
yeah,
your body's not absorbing any vitamin E. So it's
yeah,
like, even just that whole thing, like, what's the whole grift and that? Nobody when I was growing up used tanning oil. People used to
no.
put Crisco on their body to get more tan.
Olive
Right?
oil,
So,
crystal.
yeah.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you brought that up, John, and I don't mean to extend this too much longer, but that was really great that you brought that up, and it always gives me hope that somebody I know brings up those important things, because I do get asked, well, what kind of SPF should I use? And my wife does aesthetics, so she gets asked all the time, and kind of look at each
Zero.
other like, oh, zero, really. But if you spend too much time out in the sun, obviously you can burn, and people with fair skin certainly should minimize their direct impact. But yeah, you put those chemicals on your skin, they bake in, and then you get those cancer cells that form, and just protect your skin in ways that are sensible. But
And listen, for those people that are outside and where you're saying like maybe it's work or something like that, a lot of those people wear hats, they, they
Mhm.
do things to cover their skin. But
Yeah,
for the average everyday person, they make it sound like as soon as you walk outside, you better be coated and slathered in, some kind of sunblock,
isn't that
or
smart though?
you're going to get melanoma. Well, no, it's smart for them. Another way for these companies to make money off of a fear,
Yeah,
so it's the
exactly.
pharmaceutical companies making money off of fear, this skincare products making money off of fear, the food companies making money off of fear. And that's
Yeah.
really the end of the day. And that's the whole thing about this Soylent Green. So we'll wrap up with this, is that, it's this fear of what would happen, if this is what the world ended up with, if we didn't look at changing the climate, if we didn't look at healing our planet, if we didn't look at healing our bodies and what we put on ourselves, how much closer are this, is this to what we're going to become? And I have a feeling that, my friends, we're not that far away. Because like I said, when they put it even in the advertising, just that color of green in the new KFC, like, oh, come on.
Yeah, it's shocking. Shocking. Yeah.
Folks, we hope this was a little bit educational, a little bit entertaining. We hope you enjoy our content. Thank you for coming back to another episode of Dirty Laundry with John and Mike Borgia. Again, if you enjoy our content, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. We'll put links into a lot of this information for you if you want. We'll also add I'll add a link to Mike's channel so you can follow him and learn more about Mike and his music. And Mike does a show every Sunday where he does a weekly wrap up, tells you what's going on in his world. And so we'll give you all the links to that information. But again, if you appreciate our show and our content, hit the subscribe button, and we'll talk to you next time on the John Malone Show and Dirty Laundry with John and Mike. Thanks a lot, folks. Have a wonderful rest of your day.